The snow had begun falling in slow, delicate flakes, the kind that looked beautiful from a warm window but felt painfully cold when you stood outside with a broken heart. Emily walked out of the cafe with trembling hands, wiping away the tears that kept returning no matter how hard she tried to blink them away. Christmas lights glowed all around her, reds, greens, warm whites, but nothing about the world felt warm inside her chest. She had gone into that cafe with fragile hope, thinking maybe this Christmas would be different. Maybe one good person could change the ache she'd been carrying for years. But instead, she walked out alone, rejected and painfully aware of just how small and invisible she felt in a world celebrating love. She sat down on a bench just outside the cafe. Her breath came out uneven, forming misty clouds in the freezing air. She clutched her scarf tighter, but the cold still seeped into her bones. The date had ended quickly. Too quickly. The moment the man saw her, his smile faded. His warm messages, his sweet tone, his holiday charm. Gone. A few awkward sentences, an excuse he didn't even try to make believable. And then he was out the door before the coffee could cool. Emily felt foolish for even trying. She had dressed up, fixed her hair, let herself hope. And now she sat outside with tears freezing on her skin, the weight of disappointment heavier than the snow settling on her coat. She buried her face in her hands for a moment, wishing she could simply disappear. She didn't want people passing by to look at her and wonder why a grown woman was crying on Christmas week. But the pain was too much to hold in. She felt it in her chest, her throat, her eyes, everywhere. Then she felt it. A small presence standing close. She looked up slowly, expecting maybe a stranger who would politely walk away when she made eye contact. But instead, she saw a tiny girl, maybe 6 years old, staring at her with big, concerned eyes. The girl's cheeks were pink from the cold, her hair tucked into a fluffy hat shaped like a snow bunny. She didn't look scared or confused. She looked genuinely sad for the crying woman sitting alone. Emily quickly tried to wipe her face, embarrassed, but the child didn't move. Instead, the little girl took a hesitant step closer, as if trying to understand what kind of sadness could make someone cry on such a magical night. Before Emily could speak, she saw the girl's parents approaching from behind, a mother with gentle eyes and a father with a strong but calm presence. They clearly hadn't expected their daughter to run ahead. The mother knelt next to the girl, whispering softly, but the child shook her head and whispered something back. The mother then turned to Emily with an expression full of warmth, the kind of warmth people rarely offer to strangers. The father stepped slightly forward, not intrusively, but protectively, protecting his family while still offering empathy to Emily. The mother placed a gentle hand on Emily's arm and gave her a look that said she didn't need to explain anything if she didn't want to. But the little girl... Her small voice broke through the cold air and pierced Emily's heart. She tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked softly, "Mom, can we help her?" Emily's lips trembled. She hadn't heard words that kind in months, maybe years. The question was so pure, so innocent, so full of human warmth that Emily felt her chest tighten. Not in pain, but in overwhelming gratitude. She tried to smile, tried to reassure the little girl that she was fine, but her voice cracked and betrayed her. The mother immediately understood. She didn't ask what happened, didn't pry, didn't judge. She simply sat beside Emily while the father shielded them from the chilly wind with his coat. The little girl moved even closer and slipped her tiny mittened hand into Emily's. It was such a small gesture, yet it felt like someone had lifted a heavy weight from her heart. That touch reminded Emily that even though one person had rejected her, the world still had room for kindness. The mother suggested they take a short walk together. Emily hesitated, but the little girl tugged her hand and smiled so brightly that it felt like sunlight in the middle of winter. Emily finally nodded. As they walked, the girl talked about the Christmas decorations she loved, the giant snowman she saw last week, and how she believed that Christmas makes sad people happy because it's magic. Emily listened quietly, absorbing each innocent word like medicine. The parents walked beside them, offering gentle conversation. Nothing too deep, nothing too probing, just warmth, presence, and understanding. They took Emily through a small Christmas market glowing with fairy lights. The aroma of cinnamon pastries and hot cocoa filled the air. Carols played softly from a nearby speaker. The father bought Emily a warm drink when he noticed her hands shaking from cold. The mother wrapped an extra scarf around her shoulders, and the little girl kept her hand in Emily's the entire time, as though determined not to let sadness take her away again. Emily felt herself slowly coming back to life. She didn't feel invisible anymore. She didn't feel unworthy. She felt seen. She felt cared for. She felt human again. They walked her home after the market, ensuring she wasn't alone in the cold night. When they reached her building, the little girl hugged her tightly. One of those innocent hugs that carry no questions, no conditions, only pure compassion. Emily felt the warmth of it long after the family waved goodbye and disappeared into the snowy evening. She went inside her apartment, closed the door slowly, and leaned against it with a deep breath. The darkness inside didn't feel heavy anymore. She removed the scarf the mother gave her and held it close, feeling the lingering warmth. She set the hot cocoa cup on the table and looked out the window. The snow continued falling, but instead of representing loneliness, it now felt peaceful, like a fresh start. That night, Emily realized something powerful. Sometimes, love doesn't come from where we expect it. Sometimes, the smallest voices heal the deepest wounds. Sometimes, strangers become the miracle we didn't know we needed. And sometimes, kindness from a little girl is enough to remind someone that life still has beautiful moments waiting for them.